Hello, beautiful being. Thank you for pressing play and thank you for being with me right now. I'm so honored to hit record and share some more medicine of what has been supporting me in feeling very grounded and in flow state at the same time. Today's share is all about acceptance and how acceptance leads to unconditional love. And I felt called to talk about this because, as I've shared before, that compassion is my number one self-healer tip. Compassion, patience, acceptance are the top three that I keep going back to time and time again for myself and for my clients and friends and family and acquaintances. Those are some of the most important practices to hold, to embody on a daily basis. And with all that's unfolding on our planet right now, particularly with what's going on in America leading up to this dramatic presidential election in 2020, how can we accept everything just as it is and accept others just as they are, regardless of who they vote for or if they don't even vote? And for me, acceptance really started with myself. The more I was able to accept myself today, the more I was able to accept myself for who I once was, the more I was able to find love. By embracing who I am, who I was able to feel, see, experience more love for myself. And from then moving into giving and receiving more love. Because the deeper I was able to accept myself, the easier it was for me to accept others just as they were, without trying to change them. The more I was able to accept myself, the less I wanted to change who I was. The more I was able to embrace my quirkiness or my dorkiness or whatever it was that I once wanted to change. By embracing and accepting it, it just was. And it took a while for me to embrace and accept my body, as I've shared in other podcasts before. I hit 6 feet tall at a very young age, so I was bullied around that. I was also bullied for being adopted. People would say, "When are you going to go back to your real family?" And or would ask all these questions that I couldn't answer. And I was able to finally lean in to really accept what was, to accept that I hit 6 feet tall at age 11, to accept that I was 6 inches taller than everyone else, to accept my body as it was. Because I suddenly stopped trying to change it. I stopped trying to control it. And over the years, I've had ups and downs with my body. I've gained and lost 60 pounds at times. I've probably done that 2 or 3 times in the past 12 years. And I'm very grateful that I've reached a state where I am very stable with my health right now. But it was me embracing exactly where I was, exactly where my body was, instead of trying to change it, because that was me trying to control things. And when we try to control things, we're really just overstepping. We don't have control. And with all that's unfolding on our planet right now, especially among Americans, why can't we just accept that other people don't have the same perceptions as us? What parts of us have we not accepted yet about ourselves that we keep trying to change someone else's opinion because we think ours is correct? And a little backstory is that I am coming from, I used to be someone who would push my opinion on everyone. And you could arguably say that I'm doing that right now through this podcast. And when I was a political science major and I thought I was going to be running for office, that was my plan for many years. Still in the back of my head as a possibility, but right now it just feels like too much of a headache to do that. I kept pushing my views onto others, and I kept trying to explain to others why theirs were incorrect, instead of just accepting that each and every one of us humans has the right to choose our own perspectives. And I can share my voice without pushing it on someone else. And a lot of what I'm saying right now was definitely activated from me seeing a lot of hate on social media leading up to this election, which is about 3 weeks away now. And I used to be someone who would be out there canvassing, knocking on people's doors, door to door, asking if they were registered to vote and if they were going to support the candidate that I was canvassing for. And wow, have I changed. I realized that my energy was best invested in other ways. And for others, it's best invested in just that. And that's okay. But it's important to come to a place of understanding that other people choose their own perspectives because that's their right. And it's important for us to honor and embrace and accept that just as it is, just as we honor, embrace, and accept our own experiences just as they are. Instead of trying to push others or persuade others that you're right and they're wrong. There is no right or wrong. We categorize things as right or wrong, good or bad, based on if they benefit us as individuals or not, or if we think that they benefit the collective. But who are we to know? We don't know. Only God knows. Only things greater than humans know. And yet we get so tied up in this chatter, this back and forth, and this discord. And where is it getting us? This is the first time in my life that I feel disconnected and detached from politics. And I was someone who at 11 years old, I was excited to turn 18 because I was so excited to vote. And at 32 years young, I am sitting here questioning if I'm even going to vote. Because all I see are children on stage being given power, and they're just arguing back and forth like little kids, pointing fingers left and right. None of them are really taking responsibility for the 360 experiences that are going on. They're just blaming one another, bullying one another, and it's on both sides. So I've felt much more detached than any other time in my life, and I'm going to sit with it more and meditate on it and really see if I do feel called to vote. But now I see why some people choose not to. And I respect that. And I respect anyone who votes no matter what you choose. Because that's your choice. And because that's your right. And so I pray that more of us find compassionate acceptance for one another, for choosing just as they choose, whether it's regarding politics, religion, their day-to-day lives, what they choose to wear, who they choose to love, how they choose to love. Whatever it is, may we just honor one another for being just that, for being other beings than who we are. while also remembering the interconnectedness that each and every one of us share, and that every person is just a mirror reflection of yourself. So if you do feel called to get into an argument with someone, know that you're arguing against yourself. And what are you trying to prove? I've been reflecting on where I've been regarding certain conversations around politics over the years. And for many of the years, it was really me just trying to feel like what I chose was best. And I would look for external validation to reaffirm whatever my perspective was. And then I would try to push it on other people because I thought that was the best for the majority. Yet when we're continuously doing that, all we're doing is polarizing more and more and more in an already extremely polarized country. So I've decided to take a different stance, and I've decided to go towards how can we bring more unity and harmony and collaboration among one another in all aspects of our lives, instead of saying that I know anything and that you don't. And if you're going to point the finger at anyone, point it at yourself. Think about how you can accept yourself more so that you can then accept someone else's choice in how they vote. And how can you accept your actions more so that you can honor someone else's as well? And know that each and every one of us are battling our own demons. We're battling our own darkness. And sometimes people project that onto others in ways that are not understandable, and in ways that we may never get the answers as to why. But know that it's up to you if you choose to take things personally or not. And I used to take politics so personally. I used to take it so personally. I thought the world was either going to live or die based on politics. And that's because I was putting the power in someone else's hands, for someone else to help save me or help save others, help end homelessness, help do all these other things for the betterment of society in the viewpoint, the perspective that I chose. But we are our own saviors. We don't need government to save us. The more we're able to connect deeper to source within, the more we're able to connect to God or to a higher power, and the more we're able to see what we really are powerless over and to embrace what we cannot control, we can then focus our energy on what we can control. We can focus our energy in being present in the given moment, with walking barefoot on the ground, with growing our own food, with coming together in community, talking to our neighbors more, going back to the tribe culture that really is more sustainable for all involved, instead of looking for this top-down power struggle among people. This top-down power struggle with everyone just pointing their finger at the other person year after year, election after election, and then what? What growth have we actually gotten from it? When one party is elected, they just dismantle all that the other party did in the years prior. Where's the growth? Now, regarding acceptance leading to love, when we're able to accept someone's choices for being their choices, we're able to love them deeper. And I've been seeing a lot of people say that they're going to stop, that they either cut people out or they're going to stop talking to people because they don't agree with how they're with their vote. And if your grandmother is voting differently than you, do you love her any less? If your partner chooses to vote differently than you, do you love them any less? If your child chooses to vote differently than you, do you love them any less? No. The love is still there. So how can we accept that we have differing opinions, we have different views, we have different beliefs? And how can we embrace the duality without polarizing ourselves more? Because if we start to cut people out, if we start to say, oh, I'm not having that conversation because they're not going to agree with me, then we're avoiding confrontation and we're also avoiding growth. With confrontation, we're able to learn and to understand one another better, and we're able to then grow from that. Yet I see so many people talking about, oh, I'm just going to stop talking to that friend you've had for 20 years, I'm just going to stop talking. Oh, I'm not talking to my aunt anymore, my uncle anymore, because they don't vote the same way as me. Where is that going to get us? All that is doing is fueling hate. All that is doing is fueling separatism, fueling capitalism even more, fueling polarization even more. And how is that going to support us in the long run? It's not. Now, if there is a conversation that does seem toxic or that it's leaning toxic, go ahead and excuse yourself kindly. However, don't run away from growth. And for me, such a big part of this, a big part of me being able to have the difficult conversations with people over the past 15 years surrounding politics, surrounding religion, it's because I don't take it personally anymore. I definitely did 15 years ago. I definitely took it personally till probably about like 4 years ago, and then I started to not take it as personally. Because I began to see and understand other people's perspectives because I chose to listen instead of thinking that I was right. And when we want to be right, what does that really mean? That's another form of us trying to control or wanting power. And does that mean we're better than someone else? No. Do we want to feel better than someone else? That might be it. And if that's the case, I suggest to explore and contemplate about why. What's in it for you to put someone else down? What's in it for you to go into attack mode? Is that the best way to invest your energy? By saying, if you don't vote for this person, then you're racist. Or if you do vote for that person, you're racist. Or if you generalizing, all these generalizations, when none of us know what's really behind each and every individual's perspective. You're the only one who knows your full truth. And none of us share our full truth because our full truth happens every 2 seconds in our minds. It keeps growing. There's no way we can fully share our full truth. And it's brought me a lot of sadness just to see this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth through social media. And I realized that my best use of energy was to really come on here and talk about it, and to also shine a light on what's going on, and to remind everyone we have choice. Every action of ours, every thought of ours, every word of ours is either fueling love or fueling hate. And so before you take actions, before you have thoughts, before you speak into reality what you desire, think about where that energy is flowing to. Is it amplifying love? And if it's not, look within, look in the mirror, and think about, why do I feel the need to push this, to amplify this, to project this? And how can I come back to love? Acceptance hits all aspects of life. And for me lately, since I have committed to fully sharing my truth, regardless of how anyone, any of my family might interpret my truth is my truth, and I know my intentions, and my intentions are love. And I have been learning to accept more of how others choose to show up in relationship with me. I have been learning to accept that my birth mother not replying to an email of mine for over a month is a reply. That's a response. And instead of me trying to change the situation because I want control over the outcome, I'm accepting it just as it is, while knowing that, yes, of course, I would love for us to have a deeper, stronger, more intimate relationship. But if she's not in that same space as me, she's just not. I can't change that. I can only accept that. And the past month, I've been learning so much more about my biological families, and it's been quite overwhelming at times. And also, I've had more of a desire to speak to my birth mother. And so it's been an interesting mirror reflection of me having more desire to speak to her and her not replying, and then me really just embracing this journey of sovereignty. And me really just embracing my journey myself. And honoring it for what it is, honoring it for what it's growing into, honoring it for the pivots and shifts that are happening. And one of the biggest things for me has been to accept some information I recently received, was that my biological father has substance abuse issues, and that if I were to reach out to him, he probably wouldn't respond. And so, of course, immediately I thought about how the relationship that I would want, how can I help him? Is he alone? All these things I was spinning out momentarily of all these thoughts. And I came back to, I am powerless. I am powerless of how he chooses to live his life, how he shows up, what he does. And if somehow I'd connect with him one day and somehow he would ask for help, I'd say, I'm here to help you, but you need to help yourself first. And I'm here to support you through it. But that's it. That's all I can do. You can't force someone to help themselves. You can't force someone to choose to vote the way you want them to vote because you think your way is the best. We can't choose some things. We can choose other things, though. And how can we shift our energy to focus more on what we can choose, what we can control, what we can get more return on investment, return on intentionality from? And so instead of me focusing on my birth mother not replying, I'm focusing on what is in front of me, who is replying in my life, who is responding, who is showing up. And I'm nurturing those relationships as much as I can and embracing them as much as possible, just as they are. And so as we are leading up to this election, how can we accept whatever the outcome is and know that we are still okay? We are still safe. And how can we accept others for choosing differently than us? Because the more we're able to accept, the more we're able to love. And if you feel like you've accepted fully, but you feel like you haven't embraced unconditional love yet, then I ask you, what limits are you putting on love? What limits are you putting on loving yourself? I used to put a lot of limits on my self-love. I used to think to myself that I would love myself I would love myself more if my stomach was flatter, or if I chose to work out longer every day. I would love myself more. I didn't. I learned how to love myself more by embracing myself for everything I do, for just being exactly as I am. And how can we accept one another for choosing as they choose and respecting their choice instead of telling them to change it? So this morning, as I was moving through quite a few different emotions surrounding childhood memories that popped up in my meditation, as well as still processing this information about my biological father that I learned 3 days ago, I felt called to grab this book, which is called Courage to Change. And sometimes I use it as kind of like a tarot deck, and I just intuitively flip to a page. And this page that I flipped to was so perfect. I read it this morning and I haven't read it since. So I'm going to read it out loud to you now. Yes, but. These two words have become a signal to me that I am refusing to accept something over which I am powerless. My world is rich with wonderful gifts, beauty, a loving fellowship, and challenges that strengthen and prepare me for a better life. Is it worth it to deny these gifts by wishing things were different? Will it make them change? No. I prefer to accept them gladly, enjoy them thoroughly, and humbly accept the reality my higher power offers without any yes buts. The harsh tone, the unkind word, the apparent indifference of another is usually over in a few minutes. What price am I paying by holding on to these few moments? I don't have to like reality, only to accept it for what it is. This day is too precious to waste by resenting things I cannot change. When I accept everything as it is, I tend to be reasonably serene. When I spend my time wishing things were different, I know that serenity has lost its priority. Today's reminder. While I am responsible for changing what I can, I have to let go of the rest if I want peace of mind. Just for today, I will love myself enough to give up a struggle over something that is out of my hands. And a quote by Ovid, "By yielding, you may obtain victory." So these words beautifully summarize acceptance for what is. And by accepting what is, we are able to open up to more of the beautiful gifts of life instead of trying to change something that we cannot control. We cannot control someone else's choices. We cannot control someone else's behaviors or someone else's actions. We cannot control what happens with this presidential election. But what we can do is live by the shamanic practice of speaking into reality what you desire. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions create your reality. And what we can do is we can learn to accept ourselves more, embrace all parts of ourselves for being just as they are, and find more unconditional love for ourselves. And by doing that, we can then accept others just as they are and love them too without any limitations. So if you are driving a car, please keep driving. But if you are walking or sitting, feel free to join me in closing your eyes for a closeout prayer. May all beings everywhere see, feel, experience, give, and receive more unconditional love. May all beings everywhere embody more compassionate acceptance for themselves and for others, so that we can live harmoniously with one another. May each of us fuel more love into this planet. May all beings everywhere be safe, be healthy, and live with ease. Aho. Amen. And so it is. I pray that you have as much love and laughter and joy in your life as humanly possible. Have a beautiful day, friends, and I will talk with you soon. I love you. Thank you for being you, and thank you for being here and being part of my journey. If you are an adoptee or if you've been affected by adoption and you would love to share your story, I would love to have you on the podcast. Also, if you're not an adoptee and you have a story about how you've adopted yourself, I'd also love to have you on the podcast. And feel free to fill out the form at allijameson.com/podcast. Thank you so much for subscribing and for sending a review and sharing this with anyone that you think it would resonate with or support on their journeys. May you be happy, healthy, safe, and live with ease. I love you all. Thank you for being here.